Hey everybody, it's Hawk here, and it's day 2 of the 10 days of Halloween, and today we are talking about killer plants, specifically ambulatory killer plants of the primarily carnivorous variety. Now D&D and a great many other games are absolutely full of terrible murderous plants that just want to eat you. Either they're going to kill you and use you as fertilizer, immobilize you, stick seeds in you, and then we have an alien sequence where the plant rips out of you, killing you, and then uses you as fertilizer that way. Or just wants to drain your blood because it's a faster way of getting nutrition than sitting in the sunlight because, they're really impatient. So, whether it's the green vice, which is effectively Seymour, or not Seymour, it's effectively the giant murder plant from Little Shop of Horrors. Feed me, Seymour. That's why I keep calling him Seymour. Keep saying that. So it's the giant murder Venus flytrap thing. Assassin vines, which are literally just vines that reach out and choke you to death. Shambling mounds. If you can't tell, I'm not a huge fan of shambling mounds, though I guess they're more neutral-ish. Orkwort, aka the pod people tree. Twig blights or any other manner of horrendous, nasty things. There's a long list of terrible plants, particularly in D&D, that want to eat you, or just kill you and use you as fertilizer in all manner of horrible ways. Why am I pointing these out particularly? Well, one, they don't really get as much credit as they deserve. I mean, yeah, people talk about Ents. People talk about the undead Ent, as goofy as that is, because that shouldn't technically work. People talk about assassin vines occasionally. They get brought up. The phantom fungus is one I know that gets brought up, because I don't even know how it's a plant, considering it's this giant four-legged mouth with rocket pods attached to it. It's literally a giant ball with 4 big stumps coming off it for legs. And then it has, rocket pod type things on its side which shoot out tongues or something. It's really weird looking, but you'll never actually see it because it's invisible all the time. Yes, there's a giant invisible murder plant. It's like the size of a cow. Actually, I think it's bigger than a cow. It's pretty big, okay? It's a large creature. It's fairly massive, and it's invisible and wants to eat you, so you needed this to be more horrifying, right? Then you get those show up in plenty of modules. And the only module I know that actually features plants in any real capacity, and even then it's only really in the final section, it's the Sunless Citadel, and it's twig blights, because you probably all going, wait a minute, Hawk mentioned twig blights in the other video. I did. Like I said, they're little bushes about that big, little humanoid bushes. They pretend to be bushes. They can get sustenance from photosynthesis, but they're evil. One of the few plant creatures I've actually seen that's directly evil. It's usually, plants generally don't have an alignment, usually because they're unintelligent, but these particular plants have intelligence, and they want to eat you. They want to run up and suck your blood, because it's better than photosynthesis. And on top of this, they don't bear fruit, so they just reproduce via their roots, like an aspen tree. So I can honestly imagine a couple of them would go into various areas, stick their roots down, and then rip their roots intentionally out of the ground, so they can make more of the murderous little buggers, so they can go try to eat you later. The upside is they're incredibly weak. They have very little offensive capability. The worst part about them is they have a poison that makes you weak. It's not even a particularly potent poison. It's just rather annoying when there's 5 or 6 of them stabbing you in the legs with their tiny little pointy fingers of death. You can punt them. They're 3 feet tall. They weigh basically nothing. They're individually quite weak. The swarming capability is the problem. But then you get to stuff like the green vice. Like I said, the giant Venus flytrap of doom. It's massive. It's a massive thing with tentacles, and it's going to grab you, drag you to its mouth, and then just start chomping on you like you're a chicken leg. Right? Plants are a diverse mess in D&D, and many other fantasy universes because of this. Because you just take a plant, like a Venus flytrap, and make it really big, and then make it try to actively eat you. It's very strange. And then you start walking into the other horrible ways they kill you. Like I mentioned earlier, they want to use you as fertilizer. Well, It's not so bad if they're just going to kill you. You know, just going to stab you with a giant wooden spike or whatever it is they plan on doing to make you stop being alive, and then they just literally plant seeds in your corpse or near your corpse or whatever. Maybe it's a fungus and it needs to grow off of rotting substances and there's no wood available, so it's going to use you because you're convenient. Maybe it's just... I don't know why a phantom fungus eats, honestly. It's a plant, so I don't understand that particular part. To me, I don't get how it actually works unless it's just literally a giant Venus flytrap. And I'll be honest here, the plant monsters make no sense for how they move and stuff, because science has to go straight out the window for them. But what's really nasty about some of them is they weaken you. They'll throw various poisons at you, or spores, or all manner of terrible things. You see this actually in Fallout New Vegas. I can't remember the name. I think it's Vault 22. There stands the grass is the mission. And you get the giant Venus flytraps. They can't move, but they spit this sort of acid at you. I'm not quite sure it's acid or not. But they spit a glob of green crap at you, and it hurts, and it kind of blinds you and whatnot. And yeah, plants do that. You see that in the fantasy worlds. They'll do that, or they'll have access to magical abilities. I'm trying to remember, there's a plant that has mind control abilities. If it can get some spores in your face, it basically mind controls you. The Last of Us is kind of that, actually. Now that I say it out loud, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, you can have mind controlled plant zombies. So you can get plant zombies, giant kaiju-sized murder plants. Okay, kaiju size is a little overkill, but you can have like a 15 to 20 foot tall giant murder plant that moves. Orkwort is kind of like that because it's a giant tree. It's basically, think of a giant oak tree or a giant willow tree that makes pod orcs. They look vaguely orcish, they're pod people, and then they kill things and then drag them back to the tree, or knock things unconscious and drag them back to the tree, either or, and then they make more of themselves doing that. And the tree moves. The tree doesn't have to stay still. It can move if it so chooses. They just generally don't move because it's not helpful to them. So you got them, and you got the assassin vines. Then you get the things that plant seeds in you. This goes back to this fungus thing where I kind of wandered off on my own thing after that. That's terrifying because just the fungus, even if they're just, the mind, outside of the mind control, outside of the debuffs, outside of the slow toxins, outside of you dying of a fungal infection in your lungs, aren't you really happy there's healing magic to fix all of this? So once you get through all of that, you get this funguses that are just on you. Well, they don't even have to grow in you. Okay, I'm wearing nice cloth armor here. Well, what happens if I go to bed? So I get some spores in my leather hat, maybe. Well, I go to sleep and take my stuff off, and suddenly I wake up and there's fungus growing out of my clothes. Well, now I don't have any gear. Or there's fungus growing on the haft of my axe. Or there's fungus growing out of my boots, or my hat, or any other manner of things. Or I start getting a fungus growing out of me. It doesn't have to be immediately fatal. I could just, get some weird moss crap growing out of you. And there's the other part. You don't even need intelligent plants. It doesn't even have to be active. It gets horrible. There's one in the Frostburn. There's a moss that looks like snow. Sort of. It's like a lichen that's disguised as snow and it sits on a rock. You put your hand on it, it just leaches all the heat out of your hand. It gives you frostbite almost immediately. There's all manner of crazy stuff like that. So you don't even have to need ambulatory active plants. So you don't even need... It could just be, not even the moving kind. It could literally just be a plant. Plants are toxic enough as it is. I mean, plants kill all sorts of people. I mean, water hemlock is just disgusting. It's like genetically engineered to murder things. That plant is ridiculous. Seriously, don't touch water hemlock ever. Like, you can die from burning it, so just leave it alone. It's insane. So you just imagine if that's what in our world. Imagine in a fantasy world where everything is way more dangerous than ours. I mean, you think like an elephant or bear is nasty, we'll go there and their stuff's worse. So why wouldn't plants be worse? They'd be more toxic. They'd probably act faster. Heck, some of them might explode and kill everything in a 20-foot radius. It's insane. This is why people hang out with druids. Druids aren't defending nature. Nature doesn't need to be defended. Nature's got this job. Nature creates things to kill you. It's what the twig blights are for. That's what the frickin' green vices is for. That's what the orcworts do. It's what assassin vines do, because they drop seeds into your corpse and grow new ones out of that. It's what all those nasty, horrible things are. The druid is to keep you safe. They're the experts. They're the ones that can walk through nature and go, okay, those batch of twig blights over there, we'll leave them alone. Those things over there, we'll leave them alone. That's fine. And they'll guide you through there, and then you're safe. They teach you to respect nature, which makes people think that they defend nature. But they don't need to defend it, because it's got... It's like the guy with the 9mm trying to defend the guy with the howitzer. I think the guy with the howitzer's fine. But then you think you're safe, where it's, okay, well, I'll just stay far enough away from them, right? You know, it's not going to throw... I know it doesn't throw spores. I'm okay. Archer bushes. Freaking archer bushes. It's a little bush, little thorn bush. They can move very slowly, but they can move. They just shoot spines at you. Literally, they shoot thorns about that big. Just at you. That sucks. Get a back full of spines. I mean, we all know what that's like, you know, walking through the woods, get whacked with a thorn tree. It's like, ow, God, got a thorn in my arm. Pull it out. It's no big deal. Well, I'll shoot a couple hundred of them at you in one go. We'll see how much that sucks. Thankfully, those aren't poisoned. But all that's taking is an insane druid to go decide, I don't like people. And then they go make super poison archer bushes because they crossbred them with a twig blight, which they then crossbred with a little bit of orcwort, so now it makes mini people that are like that big and go and kick you in the shins and drag you to the ground like it's a Gremlins movie. I think that's probably the worst part about them. They're plants. Crossbreeding that is really easy because you don't really need genetic compatibility. It's a plant. You can just do cross-pollination shenanigans, throw a little bit of magic in there, and now you have super plants that want to eat you. I hate these things. I hate these things on a very basic level. They're incredibly resilient. They generally don't have any organs. And that's probably the worst part about it, is it's a plant. You have to really break the sucker. It's not like a person, you know, you ram a guy through the heart, he's going to be dead shortly. Slice off their head, they drop to the ground. Slice an arm off, they'll bleed out and die. A plant? What do you have to completely sever it from its root systems or blow them to pieces, light them on fire. It takes an awful lot to take out a large plant creature. Twig blights are just kind of fragile, so you punt them hard enough and they'll probably break apart and they shouldn't be an issue anymore. But a green vice, an orcwort tree, even an assassin vine actually is fairly resilient. Phantom fungus are even worse because now it's a giant fungus and it's invisible and they're fairly solid. They take a big beating to finally stop being a threat. And that really is the issue with these things. They are dangerous, they are highly capable, they are extremely specialized in the way in which they wish to kill you and propagate themselves, and they are highly resilient at a basic level. Even the weakest plant is as durable as a grown adult, if not more so, even if they're a quarter of the size. And that's probably the worst part. And then, even beyond all that, they're sneaky. They're sneaky little suckers. Like I said, twig blight's a little humanoid thing. Well, if it decides not to move, it'll just stick its feet in the ground and then just kind of curl up like this. And now it looks like a bush. Now it just looks like a bundle of freaking sticks. It looks like a whip, a willow whip. Just go sits in a willow tree, in a willow brush. Archer bushes. They specifically look like a little thorn bush. It's nothing that big. It's just a little, like, topiary bush sitting out in the woods. And guess what? The archer bushes generally aren't alone. There's usually a couple of them, so you'll walk through the woods, and maybe the other ones will leave you alone because they're sitting on a dead raccoon, or they killed a deer a couple days ago, so they don't need you. But that one, 40 yards over there, that one's going to slowly move towards you. It's going to slowly sneak at you. Every time you look at it, it's going to stop. And it's moving so slow, you aren't really going to notice it unless you're looking right at it when it moves. It's a frickin' horror film is what it is. You're now in an episode of Doctor Who with the angels. Yeah, freaking angels, okay? That's what it is. Don't blink. It's not quite that bad because they're not that fast, but that's what they do. Like I said, phantom funguses are just straight up invisible. They're just cheating. Everything else is a plant, so if it's in a woods or something, it's hiding from you innately just because you're surrounded by the things. Assassin vines just look like normal ivy creepers. And that's probably the worst part about them. It's not the durability, it's not the fact that they have various levels, various kinds of toxin spores, ranged attacks, all sorts of nasty, debilitating things that can kill you either right then and there, or 2 weeks down the road from a fungal infection, or God knows what else. It's the fact that you could walk through woods and never realize it's there until it decides that it's going to eat you today. That'll make you paranoid, right? I mean, that's going to make you look an awful lot like an American vet coming out of Vietnam. Paranoid about everything. Because everywhere you step is a possible landmine in a forest that's full of plant creatures that move and want to eat you. Now, how do you deal with them? That's what I want to do here. I want to just point out all the horribleness without giving you some sort of solution. Well, axe is an excellent solution. I mean, swords work fine, but you're going to want a nice chopping blade over a sort of thrusting or slashing blade. You're going to, you want a machete, really. You know, you want a reasonably thin blade that'll slice through all sorts of things. Basically, see Skull's video on tentacle monsters, and you can kind of get what you're going for here. But you also want an axe, preferably a nice big one. Now, the problem is, as you can see, this is a LARP axe. This blade is significantly thicker than a normal one. This actually looks more like a wood axe, honestly, than it would be the Dane axe it's actually modeled after. Because those are very thin cutting blades. Now, those will be great for when you're swinging it, the vines coming after you, and you can just slice right through them, because it's a nice slicing blade. But it's not going to help you cut down an orcwort tree. It's not going to help you to really slice deeply into a phantom fungus or something else. You need something with a little more heft. To that recommendation, I give you falchions, thinner wood cutting axes, so actually an axe blade of this thickness. It's too terribly thick. It's about, maybe a little too thick for an actual axe blade. It's basically get yourself a thicker than normal battle axe, but not as thick as a wood cutting axe, and use that on them. So you can actually hack into them and drive it in there with a lot of force. Fire, lots and lots of fire. If your mage doesn't like fire, buy them scrolls of fire. If they don't like that, or the system you're playing in doesn't have that, or whatever situation you're in, you don't have access to that sort of thing, douse them in oil and light them on fire. I mean, I don't think they're going to be terribly happy about it. And as long as you're not in a swamp, it should work. But be careful about where you're in, because if everything else is dry, you could start a giant forest fire, and things are going to get bad for you there. That's the risk with fire. But that, various types of acid should work on them. If you can get access to that. If this is D&D, you can get acid flasks. Basically, don't get near them. Just stay away from them. The problem is you can't shoot them. So get a sling, get some flasks, start throwing them at them. And if you gotta get close, nice Dane axe, good pole axe, big, heavy chopping weapons is what you want, with a nice machete as a backup to slice through any tentacles that come your way. And a whole hell of a lot of fire. That's it for me on ambulatory carnivorous plants. Hope you all had fun listening to me rant and go off on some really weird tangent with no actual direction. Remember to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment below. See you all later.